Hey everyone, so I'm going to do a three-dimensional car today. I'm going to show you guys how to design your own vehicle and then 3D print it. I went to design school and I studied transportation design for 3 terms. I really studied product design, but I liked cars as well, so I took a couple terms of car transportation. So essentially, you draw first. Here's some really crude drawings. This is like 3rd term work. So I never really drew before I went to design school. So these were more kindergarten like. But, anyways, the assignment for this little project was SUVs. So here's some side sketches, right? And for some reason, I wanted to have something with like moon doors, 2 doors that open up, one normal style, one suicide style. So then later on, we'd do some color renderings and stuff like that. So it's still pretty crude by today's standards, of course, but hey, I was a student. Yeah, so the intention is for these middle doors to open up like I guess like a clam would. Here's an idea, right? So the intention would be have like a living room for the 4 people in the back, and they just walk in, and there'd be a little walking space in the front for the driver and the passenger. So those are the only doors right here on the side. There is no front door. Here's a rear view, and I guess I was picking International Harvester IH as a brand. Here's a top view of a packaging of the people, the 2 front people, and then the 4 in the back. So this is based off real car dimensions that exist, right? And then here's another side view with a slightly different roof. So I think this is the general idea of what I'm going to go for. Actually, now I've changed it from 2 swing out doors and the lower part becomes a bunch of steps. All right, so I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that front end. I'm going to basically freestyle this in a 3D program called Solidworks. Okay, there's the side view packaging of the people. And now that everything's electric, there would have been like an engine sitting underneath these guys right here, but I guess now it's just a battery pack and some electric motors in there. So it really frees up design constraints. All right, so now SolidWorks here. Let's take a look at this program. First thing I did actually was I picked, some common type of vehicle. So here we have a Cadillac Escalade extended wheelbase from 2006. And these are the dimensions of that vehicle in millimeters. And so I took these images and I cut them up and I put them into my CAD program here in the respective views, the side view and the front view. I didn't even bother with the rear because I'm going to redesign it. And I guess I could put the top view in there myself. So here in the program, I have those same drawings dimensioned to 1/64 scale, and it's just a guideline. I have the wheelbase matching the original Escalade's wheelbase, and I'm going to just use these images here as a guideline for roughly how big this vehicle is. I brought in that top drawing, and you see it doesn't even match. The wheelbase is totally different because I didn't design this drawing off an Escalade back then. I was graduated already before this drawing even existed of the Escalade. But anyways, it's just a rough idea. Ideally, I would actually draw the whole thing, from the front, side, and top view, and that would be easier to trace over, but as I mentioned, I'm going to freestyle this. So I'm going to fast forward the video, and in between 10 to 50 hours, I'll be back depending on how detailed I go. definitely took a lot longer than I thought it would because it kept on piling on more features. This thing took me off and on over probably a month to finish, so it was a lot of work. I'm going to actually start off with the size comparisons, and then I'll show you I'm going to open this up and show you the details, because I don't expect anyone to really watch the build video because it's so long. Alright, well, this thing holds 6 people. I guess theoretically it could hold 8 if it didn't have the tables in the middle. So here's a GMC Vandura for space comparison. If you watch the build video, this is based off of Cadillac Escalade extended originally, but it's actually shorter than a Cadillac Escalade. Alright, so that's the spaciousness of such a vehicle. Off-road prowess wise, we have what is this thing? The Kangfei Land Cruiser LC60. There we go. And then we have an M2 Machines 1976 GMC truck of some sort. It just doesn't say what it is specifically. Alright, so yeah, you can see that this thing is rolling some big modern wheels, and then it's lifted quite a bit. So it's meant to go off-roading in style. That was the intention of this guy. And just for fun, I'm going to bust out the original Bigfoot because it's a cool model. So Greenlight makes this guy. So the tires are... Bigfoot's got bigger tires, of course. But, yeah, this is still coming close. Alright, so let's stop this spinning thing. And I'll show you what's going on inside of this guy. I didn't glue it together. So, first the paint, you might notice, it's a photochromic, it's a photo shift. I have these Vallejo photo shift paints, so I decided to use this, blue to purple, I believe it was. So it's blue now, as I shift it. Hopefully you'll see every now and then a little purple on the edges or something. You know what, under such a bright photo booth, it's kind of hard to see the photo shift. Maybe it's now you can see it because it's actually less bright, the blue to purple. Alright, so the doors, that's why this thing is called the Moon SUV. From this side it's supposed to look like the moon. You'll notice actually it's not a circle, because it was a circle if this is a perfectly flat side, but vehicles are not perfectly flat-sided. They always have curvature going up towards there. So that curvature affected the circle that I drew here. I would actually have to draw an oval, then cut it to actually make it a circle, but that would take forever to do, so I didn't even bother. You'll notice the striations here because I have a $300 Phrozen Sonic Mini 4K 3D printer, which for $300 is good, but you're not going to get a very smooth finish on such an inexpensive 3D printer, not like on Shapeways or something where they use a laser SLA. Let's see. Now my original sketches, they didn't have fender flares, and so that affected the doors. Originally I wanted the doors to slide, pop out and slide forward and back like a screen porch or something like that. But I can't do that anymore because the fender flares are taking up too much space. I also thought about having 2 pivots at the top and having each door swing outwards like a bird's wings. But then I thought this vehicle's already tall enough. If they're pivoting up here, the doors would have to swing way above the roof, and henceforth this thing would be a real nightmare in like a parking garage or something like that. So just conventional opening doors is what I ended up with. You'll notice, the step down here, that this is the lower part of the door, which allows a little bit easier ingress and egress. Alright, I spent a whole lot of time on the wheels. Because these are 3D, printed, I went with wheels that could not be made in a traditional sense. So it's very similar to like the HRE wheels that you might see out there, 3D printed ones. These spokes are over, the Y spoke here is actually terminating behind that spoke. So I'm sorry, I don't know why I don't have this thing. Right, so these are actually terminating below this spoke here, so that could never be casted or anything like that. You can see a brake rotor and a red caliper back there. These are just accent nuts and bolts. They're actually canted, they're not flat. And then, yeah, just a standard off-road type of tire. Okay, so on the exterior, what do we have here? These are actually LEDs I pulled off of an old quadcopter, and so I factored that into the design, although I did have to file out the holes because I clear coated this so much. There actually is a texture in here. It's part of the base. I'm not sure if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it now. And then these brake vents actually just go through. The headlights, this yellow stuff is actually the Potafix, or Uhu. It's Uhu poster board putty. It's just yellow, so I figured I'd throw it in there. I could have theoretically, made the grill hollow, but I think you would just see the interior, so that's why I chose to close it off. And also I was experimenting with the new type of resin that can be washed with water instead of alcohol. It turns out that the resin is very soft compared to the alcohol type, so it's not very favorable, to be honest with you. I wish I didn't do that. Alright, here on the exterior, you might wonder what these things are. Well, the front one, it's auxiliary lights, or perhaps it's a turn signal here. But here on the back side, you'll see this circle, and there's another one on the door. These are video cameras. You'll notice there's no side mirrors. So this is a blind spot video camera to see pretty much the entire side of the vehicle. And then this is on here on the door is because it has to clear the fender flare. So that's why there's two video cameras. And then there'd be a switch as well to activate, opening of this door. You'll see there's a hinge cut out here for the bottom section. These little silver triangles are supposed to be accent lights. If you're out in the woods camping or whatnot, they could be used to illuminate the camping grounds. But when driving, they could also be switched over to running lights and turn signals. I have two hatches on both sides. This is where you could electrically charge things, or telemetry or whatnot. Hook it up to diagnostics. This is supposed to be an all-electric vehicle. That's why there's no exhaust system. So I used packaging plastic, so it's naturally all scratched up because this is the same packaging that a lot of these 1/64 scale models came in, and that was kind of a hassle to cut and trim. I also designed in rubber molding. It's part of the 3D print, but I just painted it black. Originally I thought about putting the windows resting against this, but then the glue would be visible and it would just be disgusting to look at, so I chose to put the windows in from the inside. Alright, wrapping around to the back. Originally I was thinking maybe getting some LEDs here, but they didn't show up in time. So these are just hollow holes, but I do have, red, orange, and silver for the backups there. Here's a little logo. I don't have any decals of license plates, so this thing is just running around illegally. Just a little chrome accent strip here. Oh, door fell out. And you'll notice here, this is silver accent running from the grill, and then it's cutting into the bodywork here. It's scalloping in here. Maybe you can see here, it's actually cut in. So that, I just thought I would paint that silver just to help break up the slab-sidedness of such a tall vehicle. Okay, what else here? Oh, yeah. The intention would be a brake light, third brake light, but it'd be progressive. So the original running light, but then when you brake this light and then you could brake hard, it would fill up like a bar graph, it would extend out all the way. So however many lights are illuminated, the harder the braking. Okay, so I think that's it. You have some metal steps there on that door. Sorry. If you watch the video, you realized I tried to put this paint here in these recesses, and it's a different type of chemical, and it totally messed it up. So I saved it by using black Sharpie marker in these recesses. Alright, so the interior, well, before that, here's the door, and it's extremely ugly on this side. You'll see, these are all the supports I needed to have, maybe 50, just to make this shape. But this frame is so thin that I was afraid to sand it smooth, and figured you really wouldn't see much of it anyways with the car in the way. But there are these tabs here, and these would be the hinge mechanism, and it slides into this little groove here. Alright, so let's take this guy apart. Oh, another thing that I realized is this entire base warped. I took all the supports off, I put in the UV to cure it, but even later the thing warped, so it didn't want to rest horizontal very easily. So that's one of the downfalls of 3D printing versus actually molding something properly. So the dash here has the one bit of this weird mustard color I carried over onto the steering wheel. So an infotainment center, and then some chrome bezels around the air vents and stuff, radio and all that stuff. Okay. So the interior. The intent is for these, this is supposed to be an aluminum track hidden in the floor, and so you'd be able to move any of these seats or the tables back and forth, or remove them entirely if you want to turn it into just like a van to carry stuff around. In theory, you could remove this table and have a fourth row of seats, and then naturally the seats can rotate around if this was actually a real vehicle, of course. So, and then I suppose the seats would be able to fold down and become a bed, maybe. Although, no, there'd be a big gap there. Maybe not. Forget the bed thing. Alright, but yeah, you gotta have cup holders. So that's that. And then the intention would be these two tables could rotate 90 degrees, so it becomes one long wide table, or two tables like this, so these guys can get out through the side doors. So that was the intention of the interior. I had these grooves, and I just added brought some of that brown into the seats here. You'll see there's a lot of these extra sprue marks from my 3D printing. It's a resin 3D printer. And, if I took an extra 10 hours, I could have sanded all this smooth, but after you work on something for a month, you get impatient. So, yeah. Alright, so the windows, yeah, you can see a little crazy glue holding that thing in, but all the other ones are just in by tension. Like, this windshield is actually pressing against the side of this, or vice versa. So everything else except for that is just in by tension. There's actually a groove back here holding the back one in place, and then the curvature of the roof is what's holding these guys in place. So alright, so I guess that's it. Naturally, it's not doesn't have all the details of a real vehicle, but it's alright for now, I guess. If I want to be really picky, I got lazy. This is a totally flat hood. And cars aren't like that. For strength, they always have curvature. So I did curve the roof, although it's hard to see. Maybe you can see it's flat on the bottom and curved on the top. So the sides and the top are all curved, but I just got lazy and didn't bother to add curvature to the roof. So shame on me. Alright. Well, anyways, there's a lot of clear code on this, and now you can see all these striations. I thought about painting this black and calling it carbon fiber, but again, you get impatient, and laziness laziness won the day. So let me put this back together, and we'll give it one final spin. Alright, I put a diffuser, a piece of paper on my LED light to help bring out that purple color shift a little bit more. So all in all, I guess I'm pretty happy with the result of this. Right now I have no intention of doing another original design to this extent, at least. I mean, this thing was a lot of work. It's just that I designed this, as a student like 20 years ago, and I figured why not make it reality. I feel if I were to design some new vehicles, they would be so far into the future that no one would even understand. They'd pretty much be more sci-fi vehicles. So, yeah, maybe someday, but they won't look like normal vehicles that you'd associate with. Alright, well, I appreciate you guys watching this one. It was a lot of work, and so hopefully you can appreciate that. And if not, well, watch some other videos, and maybe you can appreciate those. Thanks, guys. See you around. Bye.